didn't bring her?
Welcome to this evening's concert. We would like to thank all of you for choosing to come to listen to another wonderful evening of music. The band welcomes all of you here this evening and would like to gratefully thank you for your support. It is nice to look out and see more and more faces each week. We hope you enjoy what we have in store. Up first this evening is Distance Hills Overture by Robert Dylan. time, I would personally like to take the opportunity to thank the band for allowing me to be the announcer for the first several weeks of concerts. Tonight is regretfully my last night for the season, and I can say that it's been another great experience.
I just wanted to get up here and announce that we have two very special people in the audience tonight. My grandma and grandpa are celebrating their 49th anniversary tonight, Mr. Barb and Jerry Roth.
Next, we will have Swing-a-Roo Polka by Van Auken. On the Trail is by Ferde Groffet. He was of French parentage, born into a musical family, his father a baritone and actor, his mother a cellist and music teacher. In his youth, he studied piano and violin, played for dances, parades, and picnics, and began composing. In 1909, he wrote his first commissioned work, the Grand Reunion March, for an Elks Club's convention in Los Angeles. Continued his musical studies, and for a decade played viola with the Los Angeles Symphony Orchestra. In the evenings, he played in nightclubs where he became popular for his original arrangements and jazz improvisations. It was there he met Paul Whiteman, joining Whiteman's orchestra in 1917 as pianist, assistant conductor, orchestrator, and librarian. Groffet's big break came in 1924 when he orchestrated Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. From that point, he began to compose seriously, often with a sense of humor. A friend suggested Groffet could even write music about a bicycle pump, which resulted in theme and variations on Noises from a Garage in 1926 and Free Air in 1929. Groffet went on to a distinguished career composing many programmatic works, teaching orchestration and composition at Juilliard, fulfilling commissions and appearing as conductor. One of his works is the famous Grand Canyon Suite, written in 1934, inspired by Groffe's travels in the desert and mountain country. Each of the 5 movements, Sunrise, The Painted Desert, On the Trail, Sunset, and Cloudburst, describes an episode of his life in the canyon. First performed by Paul Whiteman and his orchestra in Chicago in November 1931, it soon became a national favorite. Arturo Toscanini and his NBC Symphony Orchestra made a recording in 1945 that quickly became a bestseller. Here is On the Trail. Together, Bill Holcomb and Jerry Livingston composed Looney Tunes Overture. Bill Holcomb is a U.S.-American composer and flautist. He publishes also under his birth name, Wilford L. Holcomb, as well as the aliases Wilfred Lausch, Seth Markham, and Wes Tompkins. He studied the fan music theory and composition starting from 1941 at the University of Pennsylvania, among other things with Harold Bennett. A further study to the well-known Juilliard School in the subjects of flute, music theory, and instrumentation followed. The Looney Tunes Overture consists of 3 songs. First, This Is It, is by Jerry Livingston and Mac David. Jerry Livingston was an American songwriter. From 1940s to the 1960s, he had written songs for the numerous films and television series, including Cinderella, Bronco, 77 Sunset Strip, and Hawaiian Eye. He worked on Tin Pan Alley and co-wrote with Mac David the theme song to Casper the Friendly Ghost. Second, The Merry-Go-Round Broke Down is a song written in 1937 by Clift Friend and Dave Franklin. It is best known as the theme tune for the Looney Tunes cartoon series produced by Warner Brothers. The original version contains an introductory verse that leads up to the main part of the song, as a young man tells of his date with a young woman in which they go to an amusement park and find time to spark while riding the malfunctioning carousel. Third, Merrily We Roll Along is a song loosely based on the 1847 song Goodnight Ladies by E.P. Christie. Written by Charlie Tobias, Murray Mincher, and Eddie Cantor, it is best known as the theme of Warner Brothers' Merry Melodies cartoon series. In 1995, it was used as the ending theme of Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries. The song shares a title with the 1934 play, Merrily We Roll Along, by George Kaufman and Moss Hart, but is unrelated to it. Please enjoy the Looney Tunes Overture. Let Me Call You Sweetheart was composed in 1910 by Beth Slater Whitson and Leo Friedman. Whitson was an American lyricist. She is best remembered for the songs Meet Me Tonight in Dreamland and Let Me Call You Sweetheart, the latter becoming one of the largest selling songs in sheet music form of all time. Friedman was an American composer of popular music. He is best remembered for the Sentimental Waltz. The song has been a standard in the repertoire of bands everywhere for almost 100 years, since its introduction by a vocal group known as the Peerless Quartet. The song has been used in at least 4 movies: Thousands Cheer, Diamond Horseshoe, For the Love of Mary, and The Rose. In 2001, the song received the Towering Song Award from the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Let Me Call You Sweetheart is still popular at weddings as a first dance waltz and is often requested at anniversary parties. Please enjoy Let Me Call You Sweetheart. Mac the Knife, originally Die Moritat von Mackie Messer, is a song composed by Kurt Weill with lyrics by Bertolt Brecht for their music drama, The Threepenny Opera. It premiered in Berlin in 1928. The song has become a pop standard. Kurt Julian Weill was a German, and in his later years German-American composer, active from the 1920s until his death. He was a leading composer for the stage, as well as writing a number of concert works. Over 50 years after his death, his music continues to be performed both in popular and classical context. In Weill's lifetime, his work was most associated with the voice of his wife, but shortly after his death, Mac the Knife was established by Louis Armstrong and Bobby Darin as a jazz standard. His music's since been recorded by other performers ranging from The Doors, Judy Collins, Lou Reed, Dagmar Krause, and P.J. Harvey to New York's Metropolitan Opera and the Vienna Radio Symphony Orchestra. Singers as varied as Teresa Stratus, Ute Limper, Gisela May, Anne-Sophie von Otter, Dee Dee Bridgewater, and Marianne Faithfull have recorded entire albums of his music. Weill's working association with Brecht, although successful, came to an end over differing politics in 1930. According to his wife, Weill commented that he was unable to set the Communist Party manifesto to music. Here is Mac the Knife. Bonds of Unity is a march written in 1956 by Carl L. King and arranged by James Swearingen. This is one of King's nicest marches and is an excellent selection for concert, festival, or contest used by bands of all levels. This James Swearingen arrangement of Bonds of Unity is one of the best. As a composer, King was one of the most prolific and popular in the history of band music. He composed at least 291 works, including 185 marches, 22 overtures, 29 waltzes, and works in many other styles. Not only did he compose some of the most brilliant and famous marches for experienced bands at the professional and university levels, he also displayed a remarkable ability to compose first-rate music for younger, less experienced musicians and bands. His music continues to be performed worldwide by bands of all experience levels. Carl L. King was honored with many prestigious awards. Elected in 1962 to the highest honor that can come to a band director, the Academy of Wind and Percussion Arts. Elected in 1966 to the Society of European Stage Actors and Composers. Given in 1967 the Kappa Kappa Psi National Honorary Band Fraternity Distinguished Service Award, and in 1971 the Edwin Franco Goldman Award, the first non-school band director to receive this coveted award. It is a testimony to his talents that so much of his music is still played today all over the world. At his death in 1971, Carl L. King was one of the most loved and respected figures in American music. Here to guest conduct Bonds of Unity tonight is Mrs. Laura Oliver. Laura is part of the Struciani family who own and operate Cave Vineyard. As children, Laura and her sister spent many memorable weekends here in St. Genevieve. In 1995, their parents, Marty and Mary Jo Struciani, decided to retire here and purchase the land that is now Cave Vineyard. Several years later, Marty started planting grapevines and the family business was born. Laura manages the tasting room at the vineyard. She lives in St. Genevieve with her husband Matt and 3 young sons. She and the entire Strucioni family invite you to come keep cool in the cave this summer while enjoying a glass of the family wine. Thank you, Laura. I Left My Heart in San Francisco is a popular song written in 1954 and most known as Tony Bennett's signature song from his 1962 album of the same name. The music was written by George Corey, the lyrics by Douglas Cross. The song was written especially for Clara Mae Turner, who often used it as an encore, but never got around to recording it. The first recording of the song by Tony Bennett became a chart hit in 1962. Although it only reached number 19 on the U.S. pop singles chart, it spent close to a year on various other charts and achieved gold record status. It then won the top prize of Grammy Award for the Record of the Year, as well as for Best Male Solo Vocal Performance. In 2001, it was ranked 23rd on the RIAA NEA list of the most historically significant songs of the 20th century. The song was adopted by the City and County of San Francisco as one of its 2 official anthems. It has often been performed in public by Bennett on special occasions as well as in concert, most notably in the final National Football League game at Kezar Stadium featuring the San Francisco 49ers, Game 3 of the 2002 World Series in San Francisco, and the reopening of the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge. Bennett's recording of the song is also played after the public address system at AT&T Park after all San Francisco Giants home game victories. In his concerts in the 2000s, Bennett typically performs the song midway through his set, after which the house lights are turned up while the audience engages in extended applause. When that finally subsides, the house lights go down and the show resumes. On November 8, 2006, Bennett performed I Left My Heart in San Francisco on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. He stated that his first performance of that song was also on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson when the song was first released in 1962 on Johnny Carson's first night on the show. Please enjoy I Left My Heart in San Francisco. Pennsylvania 6-5000 was written by Carl Sigmund and Jerry Gray. It was published in 1939. Glenn Miller and his orchestra opened at the Café Ralph in New York's Hotel Pennsylvania on January 4th, 1940, for a 3-month engagement. Shortly after finishing this booking, the orchestra recorded Jerry Gray and Carl Sigmund's interpretation of the hotel's telephone number 6-5000. In Pennsylvania, 6-5000 is the somewhat lyrically challenged follow-up to that theme. A lyricist whose compositions were recorded by Frank Sinatra as early as 1940 and as late as 1995, Carl Sigmund was born in Brooklyn in 1909. His first major composition was the 1940s Love Lies, recorded by Sinatra while with the Tommy Dorsey Orchestra. During the 1940s and 50s, Sigmund collaborated with many songwriters to come up with the pop standards, Pennsylvania 6-5000, Careless Hands, Crazy He Calls Me, Dream Along With Me, and Answer Me My Love. Sinatra kept recording Sigmund's songs during the 50s and 60s as well. Jerry Gray was an arranger, composer, and conductor who is best known for his work with popular music during the swing era. His name is inextricably linked to two of the most famous bandleaders of the time, Artie Shaw and Glenn Miller. Gray's time with the Glenn Miller Orchestra produced many of the most recognizable and memorable recordings of the era. He arranged Elmer's tune, Moonlight Cocktails, and Chattanooga Choo Choo, among others, while his compositions included Sun Valley Jump, The Man in the Moon, Caribbean Clipper, Pennsylvania 6-5000, and his most famous song, A String of Pearls. So many of Gray's pieces became bestsellers that he has been described as more responsible for the band's success than Miller himself, although publicly Gray always described the relationship as mutually beneficial. Pennsylvania 6-5000 was mentioned in a 1986 episode of ALF. It was also featured in an episode of The Simpsons. Here is Pennsylvania 6-5000. The Muppet Movie is the first of a series of live-action musical feature films starring Jim Henson's Muppets. Released in 1979, the film was produced by Henson Associates and ITC Entertainment. Paul Hamilton Williams, born September 19, 1940 in Omaha, Nebraska, is an American composer, songwriter, and actor. Williams is responsible for a number of enduring pop hits from the 1970s. The Muppet Movie medley consists of 3 songs: Movin' Right Along, I Hope That Something Better Comes Along, and The Rainbow Connection. Movin' Right Along appears about a half an hour into the Muppet Movie when Kermit and Fozzie are driving across the USA in Fozzie's Studebaker towards Hollywood. Kermit is playing the banjo and singing, while Fozzie, also singing, has his hands on the steering wheel. The running gag throughout the song is that they are continuously going way off course, winding up in Rhode Island and Saskatchewan, and having other mishaps befall them. Despite this, they remain optimistic and sing about the success they are going to find in Hollywood. During this song, they also meet Big Bird, who is on his way to New York City to try to break into public television. I Hope That Something Better Comes Along is sung at a bar in the Muppet Movie by Kermit the Frog and Rolf the dog. Kermit is feeling blue over Miss Piggy, so he wanders into a bar and orders a grasshopper. The pianist Rolf commiserates with him by singing the song about the difficulty of living both with and without women. At the end of the song, Rolf notes that it's not often you see a guy that green have the blues that bad. It is a rare pairing of the 2 characters because Jim Henson performs both voices. In order to achieve the duet, the 2 tracks were recorded separately by Jim and then combined. The Rainbow Connection is a popular song written by Paul Williams and Kenneth Asher and originally performed by Kermit the Frog in the Muppet Movie in 1979. It has been covered by artists such as Sarah McLachlan, Kenny Loggins, the Dixie Chicks, punk junk band Chris Williams and the Moshing Moses Orchestra, Justin Timberlake, the Carpenters, the Pussycat Dolls, Jim Brickman, the Dresden Dolls, Willie Nelson, pop punk band 15, and many others. It was sung by Blondie's Debbie Harry in a duet with Kermit on The Muppet Show in 1981, Season 5. Kermit's version of The Rainbow Connection reached number 25 on the Billboard Hot 100 in November of 1979. The song remained in the top 40 for 7 weeks total. Here is the Muppet Movie medley. Carmen is a French opera by Bizet. The opera was premiered at the Opéra Comique of Paris on March 3, 1875. For a year after its premiere, it was considered a failure, denounced by critics as immoral and superficial. Today is one of the world's most popular operas. In fact, Opera America claims it to be the fourth most performed opera in North America. The story concerns Carmen, a beautiful gypsy with a fiery temper. Not careful with her love, she is responsible for the downfall of many men. She woos the corporal Don Jose, leading him to mutiny against his superior. His infatuation causes him to join a band of smugglers, of which Carmen is a member. He is happy with Carmen for a brief period, but is driven to madness when she turns from him to the bullfighter, Escamillo. Several well-known pieces from this opera have taken on a life separate to the work. The Prelude, Overture, the Toreador Song, and the Habanera. The Habanera is an aria from the opera Carmen, adopted from the Habanera El Arreglito, originally composed by Sebastian Radier. This song is also sometimes known by its first two lines. In live performances, after singing the concluding words of the song, Carmen tosses a flower to Don Jose. Later on in the celebrated flower song, Don Jose tells how he treasured the flower while in prison. The Toreador Song is one of the most famous arias from the opera Carmen. Sung by the matador Escamillo, it describes various situations in the ring, the cheering of the crowds, and the fame that comes with victory. Carmen was not initially well received, but praise for it eventually came. The views proved to be prophetic, as Carmen has since become one of the most popular works in the entire operatic repertoire. However, Bizet did not live to see its success. Bizet's music has been used in the 20th century as the basis for several important ballets. Here is Carmen.